I had everything: wealth, status, a powerful husband, and a name that meant something in Las Vegas. But behind the glittering lights of the Strip, I was hiding a secret. I wasn't faithful, and the man I risked everything for wasn't even close to being worth it. This is the story of how I betrayed my husband with someone no one saw coming, how my personal assistant exposed me, and how I lost the life I thought I'd always wanted. Hi, and welcome back to Hearts Awakened. If this is your first time here, welcome. Subscribe, comment, like, and hit on the notification button for more beautiful, emotional, and powerful stories. My name is Augusta. If you know me by reputation, then you know the face I wear in public: tailored power suits, diamond-studded smiles, and an empire built on hospitality and high-end real estate. My husband, Marcus, and I were often dubbed Vegas royalty, not in blood, but in influence. Our properties kissed the Strip. Our parties graced every social page. And behind every closed door was a carefully constructed image of a perfect life. But images lie. I don't think betrayal happens all at once. It's a slow crack in the glass, one you ignore, then justify, until eventually the entire thing shatters at your feet. Marcus and I weren't always like this. We started with fire, ambition, and shared dreams. He was brilliant, calculating, and relentless in business, the kind of man who saw 5 moves ahead. I was the charmer, the negotiator, the face people trusted. We built everything together. But somewhere between quarterly earnings and back-to-back flights, the laughter dimmed. Conversations became board meetings. Touch turned into scheduling. And in the silence, I found myself listening to voices I shouldn't have. Enter Elijah. He worked in IT, the guy you call when your systems lag, or when you need a file restored you shouldn't have deleted. He wasn't flashy. No tailored suits or designer shoes. Just jeans, button-downs, and a quiet confidence that didn't beg for attention. What caught me first was his listening. Real listening. The kind where he looked at me, not my resume. It started small, a few harmless conversations by the break room coffee machine. I didn't see it then as dangerous. Just a breath of air in a room I didn't realize was suffocating me. Elijah didn't treat me like Mrs. Calloway or the boss. He talked to me like I was just Augusta. And after years of being admired from a distance, it was disarming to be seen up close. One evening, after hours, he was fixing a network issue in my office. The city lights were flickering through the windows, and for once, I wasn't rushing to get home. Marcus was in Hong Kong, or maybe Dubai. I can't even remember. Elijah mentioned a podcast he liked. I asked him to send it to me. He smiled and said he'd do better. He'd tell me about it over lunch. Lunch became coffee. Coffee became excuses to linger. And soon I was navigating 2 lives, one as the poised businesswoman with a wealthy, powerful husband, and the other as a woman who felt something awaken she thought had long since died. I won't pretend it was innocent. I crossed a line not with passion, but with permission. I let myself believe I deserved to feel again, to be chosen again. And once that door opened, I didn't shut it. Not the first time. Not the second. Not the 10th. We were reckless in ways that only arrogance can justify. Marcus and I lived in a penthouse above the Strip, and yet I found myself sneaking around like some teenager, covering tracks, whispering lies. And I told myself stories about how Marcus was too distant, too distracted. How he wouldn't notice. How Elijah and I were just an outlet. But secrets rot everything they touch, no matter how pretty you dress them. The irony? My downfall came not from Marcus, but from someone I trusted even more, my personal assistant, Lena. She had been with me for 6 years. Knew every password, every meeting, every excuse I fabricated. And I was foolish enough to think she was too loyal or too afraid to ever expose me. I noticed her change before I knew why. Her greetings got shorter. Her eyes darted away during meetings. One afternoon, she handed me my phone and simply said, "You have a message from Elijah." I didn't read it, but I knew she had. And from that moment, the walls of my double life began to crumble. I used to believe I was too careful to be caught. After all, I controlled the narrative, the meetings, the calendar, even the optics. But the truth is, secrets don't stay secrets forever. They wait patiently, collecting weight, until they collapse under their own gravity. Lena knew everything. I just hadn't realized how much until it was too late. It started with a missed flight. Marcus was supposed to fly to New York for an investors' summit. I had confirmed the arrangements myself. But late that evening, he walked through the front door of our penthouse, luggage in hand, and a look I hadn't seen in years, quiet, still, unreadable. I remember setting my wine glass down too fast. It made a soft clink against the marble countertop. He didn't say hello. He didn't even ask why I looked startled. He simply said, "We need to talk." My stomach dropped. Marcus had always been composed, the kind of man who could fire someone and make them thank him for the opportunity. But that night, his calmness felt surgical. Not angry, not hurt, just resolved. He sat across from me, and I noticed he'd brought a manila folder. Inside were screenshots, emails, messages, timestamps from hotel keycards. There was even a grainy photo of me and Elijah entering a suite I swore was untraceable. I didn't deny it. I couldn't. My face was in half the evidence. I wanted to believe it was just stress, Marcus said. That maybe we're pulling away because we were both stretched too thin. But then Lena called me. That name hit harder than the evidence. "Lena?" I whispered, my voice catching. He nodded. "She told me everything. She sent me this." He slid over a printed message thread. It was between me and Elijah. Not work-related. Personal. Intimate in a way words can still be, even without anything explicit. It didn't need details. The tone said enough. "She didn't do it for money," he added. "She did it because she said she respects me more than she fears you." I flinched. The burn of betrayal is never one-sided. The next hour was a blur. I don't remember the full conversation, only fragments. Him asking how long, me answering honestly, shamefully. His question? Did you love him? My answer? I don't know. He nodded again, that infuriating calm nod, and stood up. "I'll have the lawyers draft separation papers in the morning. You can stay here until the end of the week." And then, he walked out. Just like that. The silence that followed was deeper than anything I'd known. I had spent years building a life of noise, meetings, parties, deals, distractions. But in that moment, all of it vanished. I wasn't Augusta Calloway, powerhouse entrepreneur. I was just a woman who made a choice and now had to live with its consequences. Lena quit the next morning. Her resignation letter was short, professional, and ice-cold. She didn't return my calls. I don't blame her. Elijah? He tried to reach out. Called. Messaged. Said he didn't know what Lena had done. That he never meant for things to get so far. But the truth is, I didn't want to hear it. Not from him. Not from anyone. Because no matter how much I had tried to justify what happened between us, it ended the same way all betrayals do, in ruins. Marcus moved into one of our properties in Henderson. He kept things civil, but brief. Our lawyers handled everything. The divorce was clean, efficient, even. We had no children, no real fights over property. Just signatures and silence. The media caught wind, of course. You don't have two public figures separate without speculation. We released a statement. Amicable, mutual, irreconcilable differences. All the usual phrases that mean nothing but save face. But behind the closed doors, I was grieving. Not just the marriage, but the part of myself I had lost along the way. The part that used to believe in loyalty, in partnership, in truth. The empire survived. That was never in question. Marcus and I were too smart, too professional to let personal issues destroy the business. But what we built together would now be run apart. And that realization, that the kingdom we forged would now be divided, was its own kind of heartbreak. People ask if I regret it. They think the answer should be obvious. But it's not. Because regret implies I didn't understand the cost. I did. Eventually. And I paid it in full. What I regret is not the affair itself, but everything that led to needing one. The distance I let grow between us. The truths I didn't say. The loneliness I ignored until it became unbearable. And yes, the pride that made me think I could get away with it. I was wrong. And now, I'm alone with that truth. They say time heals everything. I used to scoff at that. Not because I didn't want it to be true, but because healing felt like a luxury, something that happened to other people. People who hadn't destroyed the very thing they once swore to protect. But months passed. Seasons turned. And in the quiet that followed my divorce from Marcus, I began to understand that healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about learning how to carry it without letting it break you. The first few weeks were brutal. I stayed in the penthouse until the movers came. Packing my life into boxes felt strangely clinical. This wasn't a dramatic goodbye with shouting or tears. No one stormed out. No doors slammed. Just the slow, steady undoing of a life. I left behind the sheets we picked together. The espresso machine he loved. The piano he never played but insisted we keep, just in case. I moved into a smaller condo in Summerlin. Smaller, of course, is relative. It still had floor-to-ceiling windows and a private elevator, but it felt empty in a way no square footage could fix. Friends pulled away. Not openly. No one said they judged me. But the invitations dried up. The smiles became thinner. In our world, people don't take sides, they simply drift toward the one with less scandal. And Marcus? He thrived. His company shares soared. He was photographed at galas again, flanked by attorneys and executives. Never with a date. Always alone. Always pristine. He handled the public version of our divorce like he handled everything, with poise, precision, and an eye on the long game. Meanwhile, I took a leave from the board. The official line was mental clarity and rest. The truth? I couldn't walk into those glass conference rooms without seeing reflections of my mistakes. I couldn't sit at that long table without feeling the absence of Marcus, not just the man, but the mirror he once held up to me. I tried therapy. Twice a week for almost 4 months. At first, I treated it like another meeting, something to conquer. I spoke in polished paragraphs, performed like I was testifying before a judge. But slowly, my armor cracked, and beneath it, I found a version of myself I hadn't spoken to in years. The woman who was tired. The woman who was scared. The woman who had built a life so high above the ground, she forgot how to touch it. What surprised me most was not the shame. It was the grief. Not just for Marcus, but for myself, for the parts one let die while chasing perfection. I realized I had been angry long before Elijah entered the picture. Not at Marcus, but at the growing silence between us. At the life we built that looked so perfect from the outside, yet left me feeling invisible inside it. I don't say that to excuse what I did. There is no excuse. There's only the truth. I was selfish. I made a choice. And I hurt the one person who never once betrayed me. I never saw Elijah again after the fallout. He left the company quietly. I don't know where he went. I thought about reaching out, maybe for closure, maybe out of guilt. But I knew it wouldn't help. What we had wasn't built to last. It was a flicker, dangerous, fleeting, and never meant for the light. And Lena. I still think about her. 6 years of loyalty undone in one brave moment. I used to resent her for it. Now, I respect her more than most. She did what I couldn't. She stood up for what was right, no matter the consequence. In a way, she saved Marcus from a woman who no longer deserved him, and she saved me from becoming someone even worse. As for Marcus and me, we haven't spoken since the divorce was finalized. No calls, no emails, not even a polite holiday message. I used to imagine running into him at a charity gala, a board meeting, some event we both couldn't avoid. I pictured myself apologizing again, trying to explain, hoping he'd see the remorse in my eyes. But now I think silence is the most dignified kindness he can offer me. Some stories don't end with reconciliation. Some endings aren't loud or cinematic. They're just still. And that's okay. I've started working again, quietly, consulting for smaller startups, mentoring young women entering the business world. I don't talk about my past unless asked. But when I do, I tell the truth. Not the tabloids version, mine. The raw version. The version where I was powerful, but not wise. Successful, but not whole. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You can lose everything, the man, the home, the life, and still find a way forward. Not by forgetting what you did, but by choosing not to repeat it. Redemption, I've discovered, isn't about being forgiven. It's about who you become after you're not. If you find this story interesting and relatable, kindly subscribe, comment, like, and hit on notifications for more interesting and powerful stories. Thank you.